Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviewers, where today we have ourselves the latest EP from an act named Black Hades, titled Villain in the Making. And if we switch over to here, it's got an EP release date of 12th May 2022. We've got 13 tracks. Some would probably argue that this is an album because it has 13 tracks, and then usually EPs go up to 6 or 7. So I'll probably clarify that after the review. But either way, it's fine. This is the latest project, or the latest release in the project from Black Hades, and we're going to listen through it from start to finish. We've got the art here. Juiced, production by Antonio Lamar, which is the first track we're going to listen through today. So we're going to listen through each of these songs from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Oh, interesting drumline to start things off, eh? I kind of dig it. I mean, I've never heard like a track come in like this before, just with a drum fill with the hi-hat and ride hits. Or it would just be ride hits, wouldn't it? Oh, okay. You got some interesting production here.
Well, they call me Black, even if I dissociate. The same as what.
Dude, I wasn't sure what to expect here, but I'm loving this right away. I love these really thick, succulent synth pads you got in the background. The vocals are so clear. I was wondering if this was just going to be like that from the offset, but having Chameleon kind of change like that kind of makes a lot of sense if you think about it.
Names kettle so lame, but it's free of stains. Keep it out of mind. No, my thoughts switch lanes. Got a double, he's fine. I'm just a stray. Then if he flip floppy, since a babe couldn't decide which mama titty I was hungry for, supper time never made mine. Yeah, I know I'm strange. That's what passed so much, the present in my fade away. But you don't understand just how I came to be.
You just don't understand how I came to be. Interesting. I could tell this is going to be a fairly intense experience here. You know, we're not trying to sugarcoat it. We've got those buzzy bass synths as well there. A little bit of tension in that overall harmony there, both texturally and in terms of the coloration of it. But I like the fact that we've instantiated kind of like slow jazzy kind of huge reverb sound of reverb on the drums as well. Really interesting ambience.
With the plan since the age of 3. Now I'm turning to a man, so why can't I see? Cause it's more than that, you stand these lines you read between. Times change, yeah, I remain the same. So I do like a chameleon. All my skills are shifting. I can't decide, who am I? No more waiting. Born again, suicide, not that kind of patient. Times change, yet I remain the same. So I do like a chameleon. All my skills are shifting. I can't decide, who am I? No more waiting. Born again, suicide, not that kind of patient.
Born again, suicide, not that kind of patient. Yeah, I love how we're just going halftime here and sticking with those quarter note grooves on the drums, and we've got this nice contrast between that slow ride, that slow dance on the percussion with that da 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 da. And it's interesting, sort of almost straight 4/4 kind of flow with the vocals, in contrast to the swing triplets of the drums. And it's not often you get that, but I like that we're playing with expectations here. We've got these different elements here. But it's somehow, I think, because the drums take a backseat to the vocals and some of the other parts of the mix, as a nice double tracking as well. It's cool, man.
Of the barrel, with a well that I'm below it. Rejected expectations, just know that I'ma blow it. Daddy was an artist while his boy tried himself a poet. Knew his shit was fucking garbage, but he just couldn't show it. I remember when December was supposed to be. You were mine, we were fine, now it's cold to me. Life, it gets cold, that's why I always shudder. The life you picked, though, that's what I told my mother. Times change, yet I remain the same. So I do like a chameleon, all my skills are shifting. I can't decide, who am I? No more waiting. Born again, suicide, not that kind of patient. Do you see what I see?
Okay, before we go any further, I haven't listened to anything like this in a very, very, very long time. It's definitely not avant-garde experimental in the sense that I've heard hip-hop and rap that's similar to this, especially more recently nowadays. That really kind of dirty, kind of sludgy, kind of that sense, that darkness, near hostility in it is a fun element to have alongside the modern production techniques that you have with these double tracks and all that. I like the fact that we are not afraid to get kind of gritty with the overall texture and the sound of the track itself, including, because if you think about that bass line, it's just boom, 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 boom. It kind of sounds like you're sliding down into the abyss, doesn't it?
Do you hear what I hear? Niggas wanna act supreme cause they wear the same gear. I've been down real low like an egg of postscript.
Want to act supreme because they wear the same gear. Nice wordplay there, I caught that.
Ground hit the floor like a dwarf misses shins. Shooting my hopes and dreams. Look at what's left of me. See, I'm the reason for woe. To all the people I'm foe. Friends all betray. Circus so late. This is my life. Burning stacks of hate. Turning to decay. Ashes through the wind. Evil never wins. Say it isn't so. But you know the truth. Can't put out the glow. Shining inside. Waiting abiding its time. Story of a shadow can't hide. You cannot hide. My life's like a fairy tale. Doesn't end well. I was never white to begin with. Had a black heart since May 5th. Still in the womb grew the myth. Awaiting the day that was coming, that I finally came. Like Armageddon, I get it, it's God he's praying. Except the name Marcus couldn't tell the fright. Turns out I'm the same darkness in a new light.
Turns out I'm the same darkness in the new light. So yeah, I think Chameleon is about Black Hades' journey, talking about his family, the people around him, where he came from, talking about like his inner being and how it's been dark to begin with. But it sounds like it's been a bit of a rough ride to him, and he's been having to change to make his way and get his way through it, you know. And nobody knows the journey that he's been through. Yeah, really killer start to it. You get the feeling immediately that he isn't trying to be like, and I mean this genuinely, not in sort of like the meme-ish way. He isn't trying to be like other people within similar sort of like genres of music that he's making here. He literally is not going to hold anything back. He's going to go for the throat if need be. But he's keeping it about his own sort of story for now. And you don't, while this is obviously about his journey, you don't get the sense that it's an ego project at this point. So it'll be cool to hear what we have next. Summertime Funk. Yeah, and just before I go any further, because I know I spent a lot of time on this track alone, shout out to whoever made a lot of decisions in regards to the instruments used, taking away those drums and bringing them back, the various synth and bass layers in there. There were lots of different ideas that sometimes went with rhythm in the same sort of cadence as the vocals. You'd have like one thing, then the next line would have another string. It was never boring. The actual instrumental arrangement behind the vocals was stunning. Great introduction. Summertime Funk, track number 2. Production, Kevin, Katana, and Downplay. And of course, if I didn't mention it already, Antonio Lamar for the previous track, Chameleon. Oh, I like that kind of low, old school movie intro bit. Oh.
Holiday season the best. I see with no reasons, it's only the crest that I wear the crown on my hair that I won't share. That's my name on the throne, and they'll call it home. So nobody knows that I came from nothing like Edgar A. Poe. Writing our written to my daily woe. Diver out, lyrical spasms, he's rapping intentions, speaking in tandems. If anyone knew, he'd call it pre-planned then. Yeah, wish I grew up with a father.
Wish I grew up with a father. Damn. I know there's more to it than that, but just some of these lines hit, you know? They hit. As I like the fact that we're putting specific considered emphasis on various words and lines. We're aware that we can't just rap in a similar sort of like, with a similar energy. We've got to really kind of have some sort of motivation behind it and sort of communicate when we feel, how we feel about what we're talking about here. And that's like what brings, you know, when people rap to the next level, you know, being able to do it cleanly and quickly is great, but you've also got to show your humanity behind the performance. And these double tracks of the vocals and other bits, as well as all this other really cool stuff that I'll get to later on. It's really promising.
Coming out to do this, that, but your boy been grown as a loner. Making moves whack. Penny's been chilling as an altar. No, I'm not a rapper. Trump to himself as something better. Invest time to looking after. If I'm worth a dime, roll me in 9:15, then find my body in the rafters. Last bitch, but a trapper. No happily after. No happily. God knows I need a melody. Something soul flow with the crowd. Hoping praying days watching me. Niggas know I need to slow it down. Talk to T, the villain's me, the riding seat.
He's talking about his body in the rafters and no happy ending and stuff like that. You get the impression that this guy doesn't really see that he's going to be able to make it. through this. It's an interesting direction of hip hop and rap that I've noticed recently, and I don't know enough about it, the history behind this sort of subgenre to really be able to speak about it much, because I don't want to get myself in trouble, right? If you're ignorant about something, don't talk about it. But it's interesting because of the fact that I think it's becoming more popular because a lot of people are becoming more comfortable with talking about how they feel about things and being more honest with their emotions. And ironically, despite the stress and the chaos and the unhappiness that is, and a sense of hopelessness that's being shown both in the music, you know, not just the vocals, but also in the music, I feel as if this is actually, in a sense, a really positive direction for this genre of music to be going, because there's no, people can just be open about how they are about life and their situation. And it's not just talking about it as a matter of fact. It's just that little bit of sort of more, it's a little bit more personal because of that. And that helps other people to relate to it, I think. Because a lot of people are going through shit at this point in time, you know?
They hated me since grade 3. Had to zip the lip, keep pushing dream. Had to quit that shit when reality hit. Now I'm deep in the feel of shit. Light as a creek when life do a hit. You may sound weak, but I'm popping like this. Just got a hole. No, feeling the pit. It's stressful to roll, but I gotta spit. If stress is the soul, then I oughta split. Hey yo. Dead man walking in the chain gang. Them little kids say the same thing. Curse to the youth, but we still sang. When you say the truth, it's bang bang.
Again, this is just wild. Like, the production is just ridiculous. I am so used to, with these reviews, having sort of one main musical theme and having it carried throughout. Like, we have the same 4 chords, and then we just don't really change it much or shift it much. And it's such a shame, because you have someone who's clearly not, I'm not talking about Black Hades here, but there are rappers that I review are really, really great, but it's almost like they just don't really feel confident enough to do more than just the beat that they've got for the 2 minutes. And what I like about Black Hades is there's just so much change. Like that's an interesting enough sound to be able to have on its own, which is what occurs. But you not only have that on its own, it's also an additional layer of instrumentation that really it's just it's simultaneously keeps your attention by itself, but it also slots nicely into the background as like a rhythmic device. And the drums, the drum groove, because of all these other interesting elements to the mix, the drum groove never becomes boring, even though you have it, but then he's still not sleeping on that. There are these drum fills that come in as well, and it's so cool. It's such creative music. This is by no means, there's no laziness here, that they've put real effort into this, and I'm really pleased with this, because especially when you're listening to an album from start to finish, you don't want to have tracks which drag on, and this is definitely not dragging on so far. And we have just synths here. I wouldn't have expected this. And they're so gorgeous and lovely and colorful, and you know, you're talking about like chain gang and stuff like that, and you've talked about the body up in the rafters and all that stuff before, and then you just have this. And I'm like, wait, what is this? Why do we have this? What's next? It's unpredictable, but it's a weird, it's fun, man.
Ringing, rang, rang. Spit venom, new slang. Let it sink in, both fangs. The dope is spinning. Stop fighting. Only way I'll rest in peace is if I fucking die today. Talking up a storm, harder hero, feel some type of way. I have no friends or family, just past remnants of my memories.
We just have a B section here. It's different to what we had before. We've had that section with the synth split it apart, which is a lovely transitory device. And now we've got a much cleaner part where maybe he has more clarity of mind. He's talking about how he doesn't have any family or friends or anything like that, and he's on his own. Goodness, it's visceral, isn't it? But it's also catchy as fuck, man. Sorry, excuse my language. I'm never really quite sure when I can swear or not.
I don't have a home, nowhere I can go to. When I sleep alone inside my thoughts is what I'm used to. I don't have a life or a past or a present. Walk with my feet, may land in the Pacific. If I held the iron, let it rest against the chrome dome. Light the fuse, have a few fireworks when I go home. Wish my mother told me that she loved me like a Jack Daniels. Never will I hear from any family, thought of close-knit circle. Holiday season, the best, the very best.
And we just have this section where there's some sort of filtering up in the high level. And again, it's just such a nice change. I have confidence at this point within these first 2 tracks that I am not going to be bored at any point. And that's really important. It's what encourages people to listen through more of your album. I have to comment as well on the various vocal tracks in regards to the production. The modulation of them, there's 3 or 4 different pitches there or different versions of it. Sometimes you have the wah wah and the wah wah. And there's like these little adjustments there that are done sometimes and usually not together because we know not to have everything all the time. You know, it's next level stuff. And I'm not saying that just to be nice. It's literally, this is really cool. I'm really happy with this. And we're just out. You know, summertime funk. You know, there is a bit of funkiness because if you remove the vocals that Black Hades is doing in time with the cymbal hits, and especially in that second half, each of these two, but the A and B sides of this track, Summertime Funk, are pleasant enough to listen to on their own. You know, you wouldn't necessarily be understand a connection without listening, hearing the story that's being told. But that'd be fine on their own because there's just enough to keep them memorable on their own. They don't feel empty. Like some beats you'll hear that sound empty or aimless, but you could kind of just sit there and enjoy the groove of those instruments without having your hand held. It's great, man. Katana and Downplay. We've got Eden's Paradise, track number 3 though. Eden's Paradise, production by Musical.
I've always been alone.
Heavy is my heart, reasons I don't go home. Heavy from the start, reaper man better get grown. I do believe in Hades. I do believe in Hades. I do. I kill shit like Hunter. Thought you was a pacifist. Aw shit, caramba. Johnny Mac and all his friends. Long time, remember. Long gone, he slumber. I miss you, I wish you all were here again. I misuse my issues. Was strapped up in the silly pen. Bless you, a tissue. I don't need no simp again. Christ for crying out loud. Angels from grown-up men. But it depends. Yeah, I don't feel too well.
Again, we've got these extended harmonies there that kind of sit weaving and out. It kind of sounds like it's breathing, but that's a deliberate effect with the envelopes on some of the instruments there. Like an elbow kind of like that. It's got that kind of tone to it. And it splits it up nicely without becoming stale.
Felt it for some time. How am I supposed to get some help when you don't even mind? I said these past days that passed my radar. People I don't want to greet are calling me a gay-tard. Shit that's cute is soft, silly, sweet. I sit and shoot like it's deli meat. That don't mean I agree the choice is ever savory. In the end, it will ever save me. Pick my fate with the concrete. Tell Howard no quacking, no crackerjack, Chancellor up in Palm Greece to catch a darker state than what he should be. Survival of the fittest.
Oh, interesting panning there. Again, it's occasional. You have those little bits of, oh, I didn't think we were going to do that. But it catches your attention. It's like, oh, we're at the halfway point. Makes sense to include something new here, you know? But not just new here for the song, here for the album, because we haven't had any sort of heavily stereo pan bits like that before, especially not like focused on one side or the other.
What would Hades say if you got washed away with the tide? Recapture mindset with the Persephone bride. Listen, my depression off the highway, so I was riding through that north. All that time I spent away inside my hideaway. Up within my ego, now I'm stucker than a ceiling fan. Where the fuck's my hero? Guess he's gone like the family man. Tell him I ain't back no more. Yeah, and I ain't back before I'm nothing rumbling up in my stomach. Man, you got the munching, know we hungering for something. I'm full, yep, I think I had enough. That's cool, guess a quitter always was a bluff.
And we had that fader. I was just sucked in by the rest of the elements of the mix. That I feel like I missed a lot of the key components of the story there. Like, sometimes you can get sucked into a track and it can really lull you into that sort of trance where you vibe more with the overall sound of it rather than the thematic parts of it. And I feel like that was more than enough. At 2 minutes, this track is it's just popcorn. You can just eat it like, eat it like nothing. And again, that's part of the fact that these previous 2 tracks were done really, really well. And I genuinely feel like comfortable with the rest of this. I mean, there's been like little things. Like I think Chameleon, sometimes the double track bits like sound a little bit too resonant in the mix. I can imagine that if they're resonant in these, then like through a cell phone or something like that, if someone's listening to songs on a cell phone, those vocals are going to be really, really loud. But aside from that, it's just the little things, man. But that was Eden's Paradise production by Musical. Again, these tracks have their own sort of unique sort of like tone to them. I think as provided by the different producers that were involved. But like we're talking about like a Karamba and like Jack Daniels and stuff like that, and like being full and stuff like that. Are we talking about having our fill of like what is involved in Eden's Paradise or something like that? Again, it's stuff I'll probably have another listen to later on. But we've got Drop Dead by Stoic Beats.
Drop, 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 dead. Drop, 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 dead. Drop, 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 dead. I spend time in a white room and I don't even talk no more. All I think is fucking rhymes, even when I walk the stores. Disneyland America, I'm lost in heaps of swamps. Like that BR that's been buzzing for a crown made of thorns. I've been spitting poetry since what?
Again, we're splitting these motifs up into the nice arpeggiated part there. I don't know if that's a synth or a modulated guitar part there. But then we have points of tension where like there's almost this staccato flat, bow, bow, as well. We split up that groove nicely. And he keeps a similar sort of approach to his vocals in there. And the drums are... We're going for a 16th go grab on the hi-hats.
Every little thing gonna be alright. Betty got ching off the Vivo lights. Petty little wing to the emo flight. K-Dot telling we gon' be alright. Your open space is a ritual. Mine it lies in a book. Only way residual. Mine decided by hooks. Half I lay habitual. I'm done dealing with these crooks. Nigga check the visual. Just how I move. Keep them shook. Sticks and stones might break my bones, but who'll eventually pick me up? A couple...
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but who'll eventually pick me up. Damn, man. Drop Dead. I feel like the titles of these songs are like a little tiny inkling of what it's about, and then Black Hades provides us with so much more than that, you know? Which is, I suppose, is the point of it, isn't it? You don't just want to give the whole song and the story of the song the title, because then what's the point of listening to it? You've heard the story. Even if the music's dope, you know, that magic is gone.
Independent variable, more dependent than that foster hole. My mother would say otherwise, but I will never call it home. Drop, 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 dead, drop.
Back in here, cool. Got that hook line in here. Smart move.
You ever think we'll have some peace and fucking quiet? The smell of death is fucking reach, but shit, I sat beside it. So when niggas die, the mama cry, you wanna start a riot. I'll come up in your state of mind, don't even try to fight it. I used to have dreams that sold my passions. Now I'm just mean, I'm crashing. If it wasn't meant to happen, then it wasn't meant to be. So why do you keep rapping? This ain't a spelling bee. Spell it out loud, dumps of kids eating dinner.
So, like, there's so much I want to say about it, but I also know that it could go on for like an hour.
Fuck me up, nigga, fuck me down. My world a bust, so I sing it loud. My world a bust, I sing it loud. And I can't lie, this shit is sick to me like burning bags of shoes. They say I'm only rapping fast because I'm still mad at you. So when I go to sleep tonight, I'll tell it in my dreams. My inner kid is full of fights to hell and back for any means. Drop, 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 dead, drop.
So is he talking about himself dropping dead or other people dropping dead? Is he angry at someone? Is he talking about, when he talks about getting up in people's state of mind, is he talking about the fact that they can relate to him? He talks about sitting beside death and the smell of it and all that. It's terrible. It's terrible, awful stuff that I think Black Hades has been through. And I don't even know what to say about it. I can't imagine what that would be like. It's really stuff that I think in this particular song, the music shows a sense of chaos and a sense of angst and almost, but there's this weird kind of major-ish tonality to it with those extended chords, those arpeggiated bits, which kind of says, oh, things might be okay. It's almost like Drop Dead, but it's going to be alright. There's this kind of juxtaposition there, isn't it? Or maybe Dropping Dead is being alright. I don't know.
Drop, dead.
And that bass, that sub bass there, I haven't really commented on the bass much because I've been focusing more on the synth guitar, you know, parts and the drums and the vocals. But the bass there, it just sits there and it supports everything and it's thick. But testament to the people involved in the studio post-production, they handled that sub bass really well. It is smooth, you know. The side chaining from the kit is fantastic.
Drop, dead.
And the whispers. Oh, it kind of goes to the sides of the headphones there. Oh, that's creepy. Oh, I get it. Is that like bass? The boom, boom. Is that coming from the kick as well? Have they just put an 808 for the kick? Damn, that was a short one. I mean, obviously it was short. A lot of these tracks are 2 to 3 minutes. But I think in this day and age, the sweet spot for singles is 2 to 4 minutes. So it's totally fine if we don't have like a 7-minute long odyssey. Honestly, for someone like me who's reviewing an entire album, I kind of prefer that, you know? It's intimidating as hell when there's like 13 tracks and they're all 5 to 7 minutes long. You know you're going to be sitting there for 2 hours. And, you know, sometimes your ability to enjoy it can diminish because of that. Because, you know, you might not have the enthusiasm at the halfway point. But it's okay. We've got number 5, Phantom. Oh, interesting panning on the left side with the guitar focus. Why are the vocals on the left, though? They're kind of pretty, though, aren't they? Those lady vox.
I don't know if you'd be particularly interested in hearing anything about me. My life, most of it doesn't add up to much that I could relate as a way of life that you'd approve of.
I like the fact that Black Hades is including these little samples. This might be like a movie sample or something like that. And they've done it in a few of the other ones as well. I appreciate it because it gives you a different voice to listen to from Black Hades. And then when Black Hades comes in, you appreciate it more. Because there's that sort of, that change, you know?
We both know that I was never really that good at it anyway.
Rip a man, get him. Rip a man.
What? What? And we're back to this? I thought we were going to rap over that. Was just just to set up Phantom, was it? We had these interesting organ parts for the drums and the bass. Was there bass, though? Was there bass? Am I tripping?
Be interested in hearing anything about me.
Yeah, like a flange or a vibrato or something like that.
Most of it doesn't add up to much that I could.
There was a bass there. It was just very, very subtle. That's cool. It's cool. Again, that's the mixing of it. Sometimes you can feel the bass, but you can't hear it. You can't, like, hear it as clearly as some of the other elements. And then that's fine. Back to this.
My job rob of the crack street. Our jobs if you ask me. Black Hades is a cash fee. Oh no, he's cackling. Through the blank like it's acne. His crane soap, but it's so weak.
It's so brutal, dude. It cuts at you a little bit. And you got this kind of the pad there that it's kind of similar to some of like the intro part. But at the same time, you have the situation where you've got these drums which are more which are shorter and their attack and they thump. And there's a nice contrast from that intro bit. So I'm glad that was trying to connect the two, you know? Oh, sequencer bass. That's kind of dope. It kind of makes up for like the lack of resonance of the cymbals in the mix. I like the lack of a dedicated hi-hat or something, you know?
Hades never gonna let you go more than just a rapper's ego. For my wax social behavior, savor the moments which I cherish like a bowl of spinach. Probably why I don't remember past memories, simple blemishes, silent footsteps from different distances. Reaper man, get him. Reaper man, Reaper man, Reaper man, get him.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't get all the words clearly. Most of them come through really, really well, but I do occasionally miss some of the words. Some of it is the speed, just because there's a lot for me to sort of process and take in at the same time, and I feel like I'd get it more closely and repeat listens, you know. But like the speed is fine. Like again, most of the words are coming through clearly even at that speed, which shows polish on Black Hades' part, you know. My job rob of the crack street. Our jobs if you ask me. Black Hades is a cash fee. Oh no, he's cackling. Breathe the blank like it's acne. His crane so but so weak. The life I live, is it the life I chose? Maybe the life I quit. Shame be a life I woe. I thought you were there for me. Then you all left. Back at the honey tree. Right boy, this is next. Loose lips, my sink ships. I'm going overboard. Of course I'm sore from remorse that's been filling up within. I father disappointment as in each and every fault
the birth is scheduled to appointment. I walk a crooked mile down the road and miss the simpleton.
It's interesting for him to ask himself whether this is the life that he wanted, and for him to not really be sure about it. I like that. I like the fact that there's this ambiguity to it. Oh, dude, I feel like I'd be sitting here for such a long time to talk about all the little fun parts that I'm hearing, you know. In the second half, in the man, get up. Da 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 da, in the mad, get up. You know, that it's such a catchy, fun way of talking about it. I think that they're aware that they're making that kind of sassy, you know. Da da da. It's just a fun rhythm, and you can easily repeat it. Well, get stuck in your head. And you look at these tracks as well, there's a fair bit of attention for them. Like, it ranges between like a few thousand plays to like 34,000, which is great. It's not easy to get that kind of attention, especially on SoundCloud.
Up above, staring at a crooked smile from the hanging man. Sometimes I can't help to think 44 caliber. Have my hero pull the piece, 40 more here and after. Reaper man, get him. Reaper man, Reaper man, Reaper man, get him. Reaper man, Reaper man, Reaper man.
It's like the little things, like you've got the breath kind of pan to the sides, bum, 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 and it kind of... It's these little things that, like, when you're a beginner, you wouldn't even imagine having the breath as a part of the mix. Often people want to get rid of the breaths. But the breath can be a percussive device if you're creative about it. It's fun. It's fun, dude. A kind of spooky synth in the background, eh?
My job robbed with the crack street. Our jobs, if you ask me. Black kitties isn't catch me. Oh no, he's cackling. Beat the blank like it's acne. His crank so is so weak.
Here's what I heard there. His crank so is so weak. That's what I heard there. I'm probably wrong. Part of the reason why I'm kind of like hesitant to talk about some of the lyrics in some of these songs as well is because I'm concerned that if I get them wrong, I'm going to look like a silly Billy, you know. So I go with what I can hear clearly, you know. It was another really well-written song, Phantom. Again, really charismatic performance here. Despite the intensity, it's almost like we've come to terms with how we feel about life and ourselves and our families and stuff, and we're just getting it out of our system. It sort of seems like Villain in the Making is a therapeutic exercise of Black 80s, and I'm proud of him for that. You know, it's great to get that out of his system, you know? Contagious. Track number 6. Some hand drums and strings on the left.
Breathe. The words they couldn't slip, even if meant to ease. In that moment, couldn't leave. If I did, would be the last that he was ever seen. Time is non-existent in the presence of death. So excuse me truly if I was late to do duties left unchecked. The day my heart sank, my shipwreck. Feeling of the worst. The less impressive lesson that thanks you can write a verse.
Again, going with these like flute. What is that? An oboe, a flute, or something like that? How do you figure to put that with the strings and the hand drums? He's like, and you have some sort of like reverse takes on the right. How do you come up with this stuff? How do you do it?
If only I could replay, do over these past few days. Say what's needed and pray I'm seated on God's shoulder. The coax over another chance I pleaded. Yeah, fake hope I know. Just wanted a second glance repeated. Guess it's over though. Out of a bad bunch, the best chosen to bite that dust. Hold the melody, acts as a remedy to heal the hunch. My brain speaks in ways more distorted than what I mean to say. So it's important you pay attention to the script like the last cast before the showing. 7 pits I'm showing you. I dug a hole for the deli going 0-2. Loosen to my sense for the heat. Pressure heavy is my hand, fingers on the pen. I don't make moves, still stare down as I win. A man say you stand ground, stand proud. Never feel the dirt up on your shins. But every now and then I fall. How do you evolve into a man from that kid who at night piss himself for the fight and love the wells? I will beat the hatred in this rap world if I'm supposed to. Judge inside the dark, good night kiss from Nazareth. My mental split apart from playing tug.
I want to talk about something that's really favorable to what Black Hades is trying to do. In order for me to be able to review this and really pay attention to what elements, I have to focus on those vocals. It's kind of a wild experience for me because you have to really listen really, really closely, obviously. But it's not as something I can do as passively as I would other records. Because we're not only rapping, but also we're not just saying, I went to the mall and I went and bought some ice cream. There's lots of nuance to what's being said here as well, the way it's being spoken and communicated. And it's part of what is kind of sucking me into it as a listener, not just as a reviewer, but also as a listener. And it's really promising because that is how you get people in your space, in your song, in your environment that you've created, is by giving them something to kind of latch onto. And it's not something I get often.
My morals boo-hoo. Another nutcase with a peanut jar. Coming up to chase my dreams.
See, another nutcase with a peanut jar. I like the wordplay here. This guy is smart. There is some creativity and intellect behind what's being spoken here.
It's more than just acting hard. I sometimes wonder if the stress of me dying, the hunger, walking streets, forcing to meet ends with the reaper early. I'll never know, never get to tell him so. Locked lips, a cotton mouth, got me screwed up as this. I didn't see it coming, but I guess nobody else did. It's just hard for me, hard to speak, hard to seize. Crippling my spark to turn the engine keys. I miss and love you, hope wherever you may hear this. Hope that all the troubles no longer gotta deal with. And if heaven ain't real, that the days you rest in dark will set the lights to stay never far apart, and that's the deal. God bless it, blessed be the Lord. In sleep I hope you rest in peace, corrected I object to pull the cord.
I think that he was making that for someone who is not with us anymore. I think that was, at least that last part was dedicated to them. And I may be completely incorrect here, and forgive me if I am, but I detected some kindness towards them. Some, Black Hades, wishing them well, even if there isn't a heaven, that in that darkness that they aren't disturbed or anything like that, or that they find some solace in that. I want to listen to this more, but I try to be fair to the music that I review and try to interpret it and review it on a first listen basis. It was so peaceful. In a weird way, having those 70s era strings parts with the flute and the double bass there and the percussion on the right side. It's so different to what we've had previously. How do you make these decisions? Dude, how do you do it? I think that a lot of people who are getting into this style of music can learn from Black Hades, and I would thoroughly recommend anyone who is trying to learn how to make music like this to listen through this entire record and not copy it. Don't copy it, but try and take lessons from it. We got Croaked, though, number 7. This vibrato and kind of flippiness of it. Is there foley of, like, what's the squeakiness on top? Oh, are we going down in steps? Oh, it's funky, isn't it? It's got that 70s era kind of vibe to it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I stopped it right at the point where we were flipping to a new part.
But I try my best. Tired being Mr. Nice. With the dialect, let me dilate. Nigga, you gon' die freak when I fucking vaporize. Watch you burn evaporate. I can see it in your eyes. Just wait and fuck you, America. Find me in my area.
This is a completely different vibe from the previous one, isn't it?
Ripping on the days apart, stripping on the layered deck. I tiptoe through the park at night. Read the windows trying to peek the light. Shine, shine like diamond. Until I snuffed it out and now it died the wise man. Genie in a bottle. I'm trying to pour a cup, but my stomach feeling hollow. Flip a coin, tell them what the fuck's the deal. Ripping man, gotta buy the coin. Picky, don't you fucking squeal. It's over. I'm lasting past.
Yeah, we've got this boom, and it's just one note. We've got a bass line, a root note that we're following, and when you've got more of the focus on the storytelling, the rapping, you can reduce the elements of the mix to be able to find some equilibrium and show the listener where to go, and that's what's occurring here. And again, I'm getting sucked into it, dude. It's wild, man.
I hate this word and I'ma shout it so you know it. Say I'm full of private, open wide, I'm gonna blow it. Wish I was a poet, father wouldn't run away, mama would have hesitated. Reason that I breathe today, for insecurities and self-impurities. I know I'm not perfect, but these people swear at me like the chapel up on Sunday. Telling God I feel them too, the way that peeps despise the praying some with its convoluted. No, that's fucking up my hubris. Can you get some juice out the new fridge? I'm basically scheming blueprints. Consider this a warning shot. I'm the illest omen. Jacking cars inside a parking lot. Fuck it, I don't own. For the baddest wolf you bark a lot. My fangs, I haven't shown him yet. Probably pay my.
Talking about making blueprints and not taking him, not taking him seriously because he hasn't shown his fangs yet. And this is more of a threat than anything like this in general, isn't it? It's talking about his own story and how if he'd been a better poet, he would have had his father involved, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm being really careful with what I say here. I think that's what the thing about him being a better poet, his father wouldn't have left. That's what I thought I heard from the story, which is horrible. These thoughts that like you thinking that you know, if you'd been a better person, someone wouldn't have abandoned you. It's terrible. It's terrible, dude. We just got that. And we're just out. We got this like heavily sort of sub-oriented bass kicks in. And the LP kind of I keep forgetting what the word is. Vinyl fuzz. That scratch. You know what I mean. We did a massive tonal flip. I was not expecting the second half to come in after that intro there. I'm so used to having theme. Development of theme. Then when we have a massive like crank like right in that direction, it's shocking. But I suppose that might be the value of it. Lulls you into a false sense of security. The intro is maybe loosely connected to what we have later on. And then boom, in your face. Oh, what the hell's happening? And it's sub 2 minutes. That's just, it's fantastic, you know. Again, this is bite-sized. Easy to absorb, you know, no complaints. We've got Stricken next, number 8.
She had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, I miss her like there's no tomorrow. Few years, no text, 2 tears, what's left? Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong.
Interesting, we got like a 6-bar or 12-bar stanza or something like that where we're coming back to this hook line. And it's almost like we're kind of, it's raining, you know? It is raining. Is that rainfall in the background? I love how that background theme loops. It might have been sampled by another track or something like that. But either way, I don't care, man. I'm just vibing with this. And again, at 1:30, it's so easy to absorb. Holy shit. I love it. I love these short form tracks because it's literally just, here, I have a concept. Boom. Concept is communicated. Next one. There's no filler. There's no filler. It's so respectful to new listeners and fans of the music.
Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, definition of my sorrow. Wishing on a star wherever you are, miss a letters no tomorrow. Cannot repent.
I'm not sure that I'm not sure what words they're saying, whether that's like a chopped vocal or whether it's like sampled or that it's actually a word. I think the song's about him longing for like to go back to yesterday before he said the words that made her go away or something like that. So I'm guessing there may have been some miscommunications there.
That I do, so I must ask them. Please forgive me, cause I love you. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday.
Yeah, because sometimes the music stops and you're just sitting there with your memories and the longing to go back to how things used to be. That quietness at the end, you alone by yourself thinking about it at night, makes a lot of sense, you know? Some people think about it all day and it really sucks because you can't stop thinking about it. Damn. What the hell am I talking about? Damn. That's 8 tracks here. I have seen a few different sides of Black Hades. It's nice to see a sort of softer side of Black Hades, both in Contagious and Stricken. But also I appreciate the harder stuff. I appreciate the harder stuff too. There's an emotional range here. We got Here I Am, number 9. Oh, bass synth focus with some kind of really trippy, kind of bright sound. Oh. Carry Rising here. Before we go into the next section, because it's pretty much 50 at 50 at this point, are we going to develop the motif or are we going to go to something completely different? Because I reckon we're going to develop it. I think when we have these sampled vocal parts from previous songs and stuff, then we flip it to something new, you know? If we don't start the vocals straight away. But with something like this, I think where there's not sampled vocals or things from other bits, I think that we're going to... Okay, cool. Here I am.
I told my past, never again will shit collapse. Sit on the edge, I might relapse. Just like a twig, I finally snap. I'm on the wave of insanity. Had to make space for capacity. No room in store for morality. Acting what's real from a fantasy. Flipping on switches, no maladies. Shit was just eating too deep right inside of me. Most of my life has been spent behind vanity. Lost all my faith in human.
Hey, we're anticipating the beats a little bit in this one. Like we're going da 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 da. You know, we're going a little bit ahead of the beats here, but that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, it can be free flow. There can be a bit of flexibility there.
After and after it's tragedy. All of the pain and replacing came laughter eventually. When I found rational, turning to comedy, it sounds so practical.
Because for all I know, we could be deliberately making it polymeter or something like that, you know?
Stopping me? Tell me, what else is stopping thee? Yeah, I know you feel it, huh? Yeah, the feeling is true, huh? Yeah, that doesn't feel it.
Oh. It's just like an entire... It's almost through composed at this point. Because you just never know when we're going to get that B section with an interesting synth that's going to sort of either contrast. It never clashes. That's what I love about it. It's like we're aware that we need to shift, and we're not going to half-ass the shift. We're going to do a big transition, but we never hit a chromatic note or a flat second interval that's going to sort of stutter it, you know?
Ain't this amazing? The age of the villain. I'm scared for what's to come. There's no going back. Ain't no going back. For what I become. Who am I? Known as simply Black Hades. Fuck what you thought of me. You say I changed, I won't disagree. I became someone I'm meant to be. You say I changed, I won't disagree. I became someone I'm meant to be. I became one with duality. Something real strange, no longer restrain my insanity. Putting my name in reality. Hope for some day that I finally seek my identity. Say I'm insane, it is what it is, it's facts of me. Red roses, am I destined for failure or destined for greatness? Red roses.
I think I understand what this, I mean, Villain in the Making is pretty self-explanatory when you think about it. But I think that Black Hades is talking about his journey from where he started across this album to where he is now. And he's thinking here, okay, here I am. Am I destined for failure? Am I destined for greatness? And there's obviously these demons that he's having to deal with, wondering if he's even going to make it through, you know, if he's going to get through it and be able to overcome the difficulties that he has in his life. I firmly believe there's a market for this kind of stuff. I think there are fans who would be able to not only appreciate the musical side of it and also his ability as a rapper, but also the stories that he's telling. I really hope that he capitalizes on it, you know?
When the time comes, I'll be dead and gone. When the time comes, I'll be dead and gone.
That's creepy as hell, dude. I don't know if I like that very much. Not like from like as in it didn't sound good perspective, but because like it just makes me it makes me uncomfortable. I don't think music. I think that's fine. I don't need to feel comfortable reviewing music because music isn't here to make me feel good. Music is an expression, the purest expression that a musician can offer you. You know, it's their heart and soul poured out onto an audio clip, and you need to be able to take it as it is. You know, just absorb it. You know, we got. Shame mix. Well, this is kind of nice. I like this kind of... Well, that's very... Is that... That is one of the most pure sounded, like, pretty synthesizers I've heard in a track in a damn long time. And I would love for whoever was responsible for that to let me know how they made it. What synth did you use? How did you get that tone? More of that, please.
Slacking on
Oh.
I'm collaborating, chapter deal if I'm too ill, capping feet.
Oh, okay, so we just completely changed the theme again. I thought we were gonna, like, loop with that. Oh, I'm kind of disappointed because I wanted that fun synth to come back. But we wanted the lo-fi kind of R&B-ish 90s kind of situation going on back with this one. It's cool, man.
New disposition, pressure up, performing not underground, but below seek water. Came from abyss, abysmal as it is. Life is little like the kid staring back at me. Face full of acne, barely 6 feet, so it's hard to reach fame. Locked behind gates of pearly. I am sorry that I left you. Do not worry, 'cause our love's true. I cannot give you what you need, least not in this reality.
I cannot give you what you need in this reality. I love how that synth there. I think that may have been the synth in a lower octave we had earlier on. Thank you for bringing that back. That's just a personal thing. I really liked the tone of that. It was great. I like it. I like the other parts that are going on here. I like how there's this unison between that synth melody and the voice, especially when the voice isn't necessarily trying to be too melodic, you know. We're not trying to do the clean vocal singy kind of stuff here. We have that kind of melodic rapping kind of bit going on. And that's cool, man.
Yeah. Put my hatred, put my passion in a bottle, then I shake it. Hand to one, the winnings be the reason that I'm driven. And we know it ain't the second, no more fake notions needed. It's the fucking day today, I finally admit it. Full of loathing and resentment, where I like the clothes that I am wearing. No longer I detest it, it is cold where I'm going. Laying frozen next to Judas, there's my soul, I see it floating. I am...
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's someone coming to terms with the decision they made and feeling bad for abandoning them. It's coming to terms with their shame, I think. It's more of a somber, low-key admission. And it's an interesting choice musically, but the harmonies, the tone of the different instruments makes a lot of sense. And that drum beat that just continuously like marches on while there's that intermissionary kind of bar the whole time. It makes a lot of sense, you know, as if we're in a waiting room while we come to a conclusion. I think that's smart.
Sorry that I left you, do not worry, 'cause our love's true. I cannot give you what you need.
Oh no. I mean, who am I to be the arbiter of what's melodic rapping and sing? He's singing. This is singing. It slaps, actually. Oh, we're just bouncing out because, again, we're at that. We've said what we needed to say, and we're boom. I cannot emphasize how much I appreciate it when people do what they need to do, and then they bounce. It's fine. You don't need a 2-minute track. This isn't YouTube where you need to make it some over 10-minute video in order to like be able to get monetized or something like that. You just have a song that people enjoy and have it as long as it needs to be, and you'll find success. People don't want filler, man. They want music that will make them feel something and that they'll be able to relate to. Shame mix. We got 3 more to go though. The Ill-Willed Soul. I've enjoyed this, even though it's been a bit intense at times. Okay, we just had the whooshy, windy synths, and then we're back into some industrial drums.
Walking contradictions, grudging, narcissistic, quick with ill-meant intentions. I used to tell my family I would be this or that. What a fucking tragedy. Fuck the freak.
Why? How do you even get your voice to do that? What vocoder synth do you have to do to get that modulation to take place? Because again, I cannot emphasize this enough. It would be fine. I don't even know if I've emphasized this at all. No, I don't think specifically I've said this. You just can't get away with having one type of vocal nowadays. You know, we're not doing some sort of like, even, I was about to say we're not doing a Disney soundtrack. Even Disney soundtracks, they don't just have the same voice the whole time. We have like vocal harmonies and other variations of it and stuff like that, because I know that you can't just have one tone in the lead in order for it to be fun. You need more than that, and that's what we'll go at Black Hades. That's that extra, you know? Nice panning of the hi-hats on the left. Bit of distortion on it, that's cool.
It's over. I'm tired of all the lies. I fire within shall rise. I hope you meet the minds. I see the price. Come on, Lucy, strike a bargain. Tell me what's the deal. You're too afraid, no fake the bar. Fuck him till he swills. Taste the menace skin. Heard it taste the same to venison.
And that's just that bass on the right, which is writhing in your headphones. It's like, oh, it's gritty, it's intense, it's uncomfortable, but we don't need more than that. You know, I'll help that to elevate the story, and you're good to go.
So I stood up on my throne as the villainous antagonist. Became a villain just to meet the hero that I wanna be. Call it what you want, it's essential, that's plaguing me.
Okay, so we got that understanding that maybe who we thought we were initially isn't who we actually need to be. You know, that maybe being the good guy isn't gonna get us to where you know what we need. You know, it's pretty self-evident if you listen to it. You'll be getting the same kind of thoughts that I have, or maybe different, because music is subjective. You know, I like that. I like the fact that we're not being like, oh, but we need to try and be the best version of ourselves, and we need to try all happy and butterflies and caterpillars and shit. Sometimes being real can be way more effective than trying to be someone that you're not. And if you don't have the goody two shoes kind of persona, you know, don't force it. You know, I think again, Black Hades, Villain in the Making. This album, this EP, this project is all about him coming to terms with who he is and where he wants to go in future. And I think that, again, this is probably very therapeutic for him. And I'm really proud of him for being open enough to be able to make music about it. You know, it's great. A lot of people will learn from this. We got Descent, track number 12. What the hell have we got here, man? It just came in so strong, and it was so interesting and so fascinating with these really bright, kind of zazzy, crazy, almost unbelievable synths. And we'll get the wah-wah oscillations, and then... What the fuck? Oh, it's descending, because this is Descent, right?
Then it all hit me. I feel it, you feel it. The vision surface into realness. No longer make believe. These feelings I make disease. The heart tells tales and ill wills and soul. But if all else fails, then maybe I'll make it whole again. I don't mean to make it seem, but hate's all I have. Hate's all I am. Hateful of my past. That's all hesitation. Soon took a lapse. What I used to call a man, now an aberration. Ironically, my salvation, damn me. Except loved ones, only really loved one. And it cost me everything after all said and done. No, it's redundant, but without her I'm truly nothing. I give it all back again, to tell her that I want it back to no end. All I really had, all of what I am. Sincerely yours truly, wish for all the best for love. I'll miss you, Miss Mystery.
The piano to kill us out. I'll miss you, Miss Mystery. Yeah, so I think Descent is him sliding down into this villain role. It's his like final message to those that he had connections with previously. And maybe they didn't get to repair things, and he's just accepted that now. Until he becomes the villain in this next part. It was like a fever dream listening to that Descent track, which is kind of what kind of losing yourself can be like. Or that change or development can be like, for better or for worse, you know? Villain. Final track for today.
You say why? Shit, man. I'm a natural born villain.
Great sense of humor, dude. The reason I say sense of humor is because, like, just the villain, like referencing like cartoons and movies and stuff like that. There's a sense of entertainment from this. Now, even if it isn't meant to be something that's funny, it's appropriate regardless, you know? It's heavily compressed drums now.
Screw the sheep with a wolf coat while I eat rap. New age feeling burned out for the black smoke. Guess you could say I was born through the shade. Let the osmolar shake for the flame. All what is me unsheathed like a blade. Shed the grief, I must go on with the play. Since I'm feeling blue, I should join Brockhampton. Side with the villainous crew. While I waltz with a cat, I remember.
So this is him fully accepting his role as a villain at this point. And there's this kind of really ominous tonality to these synths and basses and drums and such, and it's almost like that industrial sort of like gothic kind of new wave kind of vibe.
When all that I wanted was kids in that house and a wife and I'm loving, but never I'll get it. The passion I'm feeling, so passionate agent, forever for worse am I gifted. Upon all the curses I'm dealing, says every last verse that I written, they say puts work in the fist, says I don't find enough, thought to the hand, talk to the devil, tits, say he might snap a wrist, dead side, raise it up, Lazarus, method to the madness, tell us what the plan is, any down talk, looking up at sacrilegious, starting up a black religion, I could never understand it, the reason that I'm a killer, the moment I realize my heart suffocated, niggas busy promising what's fully corrupted, but attempts to impress the man.
The vocals are like getting kind of lost in some of the parts of the other mix, like the big string stuff. So the the drums like side chaining or like any of the part. Again, there's a lot of compression limiting going on here. It still works. Don't get me wrong. It's just a little bit harder to make it out than usual, just because of the other elements of the mix.
Right shoulder, so I guess I gotta let the left one take over.
Because there's also like a few things that are in a similar frequency spectrum to the vocals, like the ones in the center. I mean, not the side ones.
For the eyes will leave from the realize, never apologize from side what the eyes perceive. A black cloak figure who becomes of a deity. A true different is reflection of what they say in this meeting. We don't cost to relate, too deadly for the ears to heed. I dropped an album, not the bar. Niggas they hate when I glow. You wanna see me fall? I'm sorry, Penny, but I gotta float. Lonely man became. Woke me stand, I pray. Hold me hand in place. Fuck you, it ain't the same. Stuck in the void to myself, I can't handle. Born in a dark place, search stay flat man. Tell him it's his birthday, then hand him to the caregiver. Blow at the kennel, make a wish to the whack nigga. Doom to your home, to your village. I presume such a bloom at the spring. Never wanna be a chow down to eat up. Don't eat up, all leave spices, slices, sugar coated recipe. Get the whole squad in, Sigma for the leapers. Whole coach head bobbing, green man with a reacher. Well done for the odds fell sun race in the cave, still forgotten till Sunday. Shadows in the dark dance as I just stood to pray to me. Be low to his deity. Till I slick blacker than the oil oozing out of mother's overseas. Stretching uphill, beat bad bitch rap, now they worship this. Predict a couple dicks, spit the shits weak in fact. Let my rhyme speak, watch as I observe the fifth. Lonely man became. Woe me stand, I pray. Hold me hand in place, fuck you, it ain't the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure I caught much of what was going on in that villain track, vocal-wise. It was just really hard to pay attention to everything at once, you know. I got bits of it, but I can't really form a coherent kind of like opinion on that last track, at least from like a story perspective. It was almost like we went full force into that, okay, we've become a villain. What are we going to do with that now? It's our intention of future. I remember him saying something about like paying credits to his rap or his bars or something like that. And representing the fifth or something like that. And yeah, it's just such an intense way to finish an album or an EP, should I say, an EP or an album that is so thoroughly intense by virtue of being what it is, Villain in the Making, Black Hades. The transformation from apparently a really visceral, brutal childhood to what we have now. I'm just going to turn my camera on. We'll do the conclusion. Typically, when I listen to modern hip-hop and rap, hey, does this have a select genre added to it? Hip-hop and rap, cool. So I didn't misinterpret that. I don't hear stuff like this. This is the conclusion. This album, as I understand it, is about someone. I've heard the progression of someone before, the story of how someone came to be in this day and age before, in albums I reviewed from the genre. Of course, a lot of. I've heard people talk about how they had difficult childhoods, and I'm not simplifying that to this. Don't worry. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm not trying to generalize, but. People talking about the difficulties they have with their family, their relationships. I hear a lot of stories about people having like one parent out of their life and the other one being very grateful to them for that. The issues that they have with their friends and difficulties in their relationships and life struggling to get by and everything, and the hustle and the grinds to be able to make it in the industry and everything like that. Very rarely do I have a focus more on someone becoming more of the opposite of what a lot of these albums tend to go in the direction of, which is a quote-unquote better life. Maybe this is more ambiguous. With Villain in the Making by Black Hades, you get the impression that this is someone who is not entirely unhappy with where they are at currently. They've just accepted who they are and have found, maybe not peace with that, but found a point where they can stand and be who they are, because a lot of people are in flux, you know. I think Villain in the Making is someone who just who you know, who's made mistakes or had other people make mistakes, and that's affected their life in ways that unconscionably not ideal. We have someone who illustrates that throughout this album. There's lots of replay value in this. These are not your typical, again, like ABAB structure lyrics. There's nuance and there's double meanings to stuff, and you have to really kind of join the dots. And I think you really have to understand Black Hades as a person to really know the full story behind the context and content of what he's trying to express to you within this album. But yeah, for me, as someone who's on the outside, it's someone who's talked about their family, their issues with their friends, the fact that they don't hear from anyone anymore, wondering if they're going to be able to make it, the issues they have with other people in the industry, their own self-doubt. I think that they said the wrong thing to someone and they wish they could have had a normal life as an adult or something like that. I think that's something from Villain that I heard. They wish they had a normal adult life with kids and a house and all that, but they couldn't quite get that. And they've just accepted that they have descended now. In a way, it's kind of sad, but also it would be sadder if someone never knew who they were or why they were, you know? I hope that Black Hades is taking care of themselves, as some of the stuff, especially about like being found up on the rafters and stuff like that, is really fucking intense. It's really intense. There's some really dark subject matter in here, and I think that that's a really, really good thing. I hope a lot of people can learn from what Black Hades has been through, become better people because of it, or at least learn to accept who they are and understand that you don't need to be the perfect little prince or princess that people want you to. Human beings are not perfect. And I think that if anything, it's inspirational that Black Hades has gone through all of this and still come out the other side as anything. That they have gotten to a point where they can make this music and be honest and sort of genuine with people. And again, well done to Black Hades as well. As well as the other people involved in this project. We had Antonio Lamar, Kevin Catano and Downplay, Musical and Stoic Beats for their production chops as well. Black Hades' rapping was always interesting. You know, there was never a point where I felt sort of like it was weak or meaningless or filler material. There was always a clear intent behind it. We rapped and emoted and communicated in a way that made a lot of sense with the story that we're telling. While I didn't necessarily get all the words nice and clearly, such as in Villain, and I think that's partly because I'm trying to review everything at once, most of it came through well, and we did pay attention to the parts we needed to put special emphasis on, and those came through clearly. And I think that Black Hades is aware that we needed to really kind of, we didn't want to handhold the audience through our tale, but we needed to kind of give them a little bit more help with some of the aspects that we really wanted them to consider. The speed was quick, the flow was clear for the most part. There was great attention with the backing vocals and the different vocal modulations and stuff as well that came through. I'm impressed with the work on the vocals there, but not only that, we also had like samples of other tracks and their sort of vocal chops and everything, some lady vocals occasionally as well to kind of contrast in the upper range with the texture as well. All in all, the vocal performance was solid and the story was told well, and I'm liking the fact that we had constant change throughout this album. We didn't just stay with one set emotional kind of point. We tried to have different viewpoints and aspects on it. And we didn't take for granted the fact that we could just have like really sad and then happy. We had nuance there, and there was you have to really pay close attention. That's part of what I enjoyed about it, is that they invited you to kind of hear them out, and they didn't take your attention for granted. The structure of these tracks, a lot of them were like 1 to 3 minutes, and that was nice and short and easy to bite up. Some of them were through composed, others were like sort of verse, chorus, verses, but it was more or less just, it was a journey from start to finish, and you had little changes in between. Some of the songs had a lot more change than others, like Chameleon had all sorts of stuff. Summertime Funk was pretty well as well. Others were more straightforward, but primarily because of the fact that they were shorter, and also I just think the themes in those shorter songs that had that sort of like one way of approaching it were interesting enough to not need to really vary them too much. You know, there were lots of different instruments in here, countless ones. Each of these tracks was unique. So, you know, we had like a piano, synth, bass, drum parts, and all other like wood instruments and sort of jazzy parts and different drum kits and all sorts of fun, little unique inputs here. Some of them were unusual, like again, you had like the 70s era kind of like flute with the double bass and stuff that I wouldn't necessarily incorporate with hip hop and rap nowadays, but Black Hades did that, and it made sense to do so, and it was really creative, really well thought out and clever stuff, and it just goes to show the stuff you can do nowadays, you know. with technology. I don't know whether they recorded those instruments or used samples, but either way, it's awesome. It's very good. Again, there was not a note out of place as far as I was concerned. It's some of the most interesting hip hop and rap that I've heard this year, if not over my time as a music career, as a music reviewer, should I say. Finally, the production, recording, mixing, mastering was sensational. I'm lost for words with the change and the sheer attention to detail here. There were bits where maybe the double tracking was a little bit resonant, like with Chameleon. I'm pretty certain that those double tracks in like the center field, but the 50 right to left, 50%, some of those might have been a little bit loud. I did nonetheless appreciate that most of it was, like, the vast majority of it was mixed really, really well. I didn't always understand why we had some like samples in before the main part of the song. Like, there were some songs where, you know, you had like one groove and then you completely change tempo and then go straight into the main part of the rap sort of verse or chorus section. But I think that was more of a stylistic choice by Black Hades, and you know, it's subjective. I'm sure there was a reason behind that. It's why I'm glad we didn't do this as an instrumental, because if we'd done this as an instrumental, it wouldn't have made a lot of sense if you just had, oh, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? You kind of need to link the two, and that's what the vocals did here. Stunning job with the vocal production here. Lots of interesting modulations, and the effects change as well, and how they're occasional, not all the time. I can imagine the actual like production session and whatever DAW people were using would have been absolutely frenetic and like overwhelming. I thoroughly appreciated the EQ, the effects change on the various instruments, as well as the EQing, stereo panning, as well as the automation sometimes. And the limited compression was great too. The tracks are nice and loud, but there was also a dynamic range there, and the quiet bits were quiet and loud bits were loud. And that went for everything. We weren't trying to crush it too much. Although I will say in Villain, it sounded like things were getting pretty busy on the limited compression chain, but at the same time, I think that was maybe, again, a stylistic choice. You know, you could say, well, Logan, what, couldn't everything be a stylistic choice? No. If you go and put like a flat second chord of music on, brah, 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 that's not going to sound good, whatever the hell you do to it, you know? Especially if it's not in the right context. It's not like I give a free pass for stuff because I'm in a good mood. I know there's more than just good and bad music, and this is part of why I do what I do, because it's opened my mind to a lot of different genres of music that I wouldn't have heard before. And this is why I really hope that Black Hades can find an audience for their music, because they make great stuff. Again, I'm not going to pretend that this will appeal to everyone, but there's probably a lot of people who are going through stuff that's at least mildly similar to Black Hades, who might enjoy music like this, or at least might find it interesting and kind of might open their minds a little bit to the various other stuff available. And I really hope that Black Hades can find further success in future. Well done on this record, Villain in the Making. That was effectively my review of this record. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Villain in the Making by Black Hades. If you did, please do go show Black Hades some love via their various social medias and a SoundCloud page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please also remember to support local musicians and artists at this point in time, as eat the hell more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.